I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life. But I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that closure.
Caitlin Clark's world just changed in an instant. And it all started when Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull walked into the room. In a moment, packed with emotion and pure shock, the basketball legend and rising star revealed a jaw-dropping $52 million Nike deal made just for Clark. Her eyes widened, the crowd went silent, and what followed was a reaction that fans will never forget. But why did Jordan and Hull make this move now? And what does this groundbreaking deal mean for Caitlin, Nike, and the future of women's sports? The rise of a phenomenon. Long before the confetti fell at the 2024 WNBA draft, Caitlin Clark had already rewritten history, over and over again. She wasn't just a great player. She was the player, the heartbeat of women's college basketball. From her first season with the Iowa Hawkeyes, Caitlin turned ordinary games into prime-time events. Every time she stepped on the court, something electric happened. Step-back threes from way beyond the arc, laser passes through tight lanes, and a confidence that made even the most seasoned analysts stop and stare. By early 2024, something remarkable had happened. Not only was Caitlin Clark's name known in every American household, but it had begun echoing across continents. Crowds lined up hours before tip-off just to catch a glimpse of her warming up. TV ratings soared every time her jersey appeared on screen. In fact, during the 2023 to 2024 season, several of Caitlin's college games outdrew NBA matchups in viewership and ticket sales. She didn't just bring fans, she built a movement. Her numbers? Unreal. In March 2024, inside the roaring walls of Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City, Caitlin Clark broke the NCAA's all-time scoring record, surpassing every player, male or female, who had come before her. The world didn't just take notice, it stood still for a moment. ESPN ran special coverage. International networks rolled out instant features. Her face was everywhere, from cereal boxes in the Midwest to digital billboards in Tokyo. This wasn't just college basketball anymore. Caitlin Clark had become a global icon. So when April 15th, 2024 rolled around, the night of the WNBA draft, it wasn't a question of if she'd be picked first. It was how fast the Indiana Fever would jump to make the call. And when they did, in front of a buzzing crowd in Brooklyn, New York, it felt less like a draft and more like a coronation. The crowd erupted, cameras flashed, legends nodded in approval. But what happened next? That's where the story truly takes a turn. Because in a moment that stunned fans and insiders alike, two iconic names stepped forward: Michael Jordan, the basketball kingmaker himself, and rising WNBA star Lexie Hull. Together, they revealed a surprise partnership no one saw coming. Nike was offering Caitlin Clark a mind-bending $52 million deal, not just for shoes, not just for branding, but for an entire empire built around her story, her style, and her unstoppable rise. What was once a whisper about her future became a thunderclap across the sports world. And in that moment, caught on camera, Caitlin Clark's expression said it all: shock, gratitude, triumph. But behind that headline-grabbing deal is a deeper story. A story of timing, legacy, and how Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull didn't just back a player, they backed a revolution. Now, what happens when Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull ignite a revolution, not just a deal? Stay connected to find out. The bidding war that shook women's sports. By the time Caitlin Clark touched down in Brooklyn for the 2024 WNBA draft, she was no longer just a basketball star. She was a marketing phenomenon. Every shot she took, every post-game interview she gave, every step she took in sneakers, was already being watched by corporate giants with billion-dollar eyes. Her rise hadn't just electrified fans, it had awakened the full force of the global endorsement machine. The battle to sign Caitlin Clark wasn't subtle. It was fierce, and it spanned boardrooms across the world. From early March 2024, whispers of massive endorsement offers began swirling behind the scenes. Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, and Puma all stepped into the arena, not just to sign a player, but to lock down the most influential woman in basketball. Each brand knew what was at stake. Caitlin Clark didn't just represent elite athleticism, she represented the future, a new era of visibility, fandom, and market power in women's sports. Under Armour came in hard and fast. Reports leaked from its Baltimore headquarters revealed a tempting offer, $16 million over 4 years, plus the promise of a signature shoe, a rarity for women athletes at any level. That was enough to make headlines. Then came Adidas, launching a quiet but calculated bid, $6 million over 4 years, and something else that raised eyebrows. A prototype sneaker that was already designed with Caitlin's game in mind. Puma flirted with the idea too, but as the numbers skyrocketed and the stakes exploded, they backed out of the race. This was no longer business as usual. This was war. And then, just as the world held its breath, Nike moved. It wasn't just a deal, it was a thunderstrike. On April 2024, just 3 days after Caitlin was drafted first overall by the Indiana Fever, Nike delivered a game-changing offer that obliterated everything else on the table. An 8-year contract, a rumored $28 million base. But that wasn't the end of it. Insiders close to the deal confirmed that performance bonuses, brand royalties, and global activations would push the value of the agreement to a jaw-dropping $52 million. And Nike didn't stop there. They brought in 2 powerful forces to seal the moment. Michael Jordan, the legend whose Jumpman brand changed the business of basketball forever, and Lexie Hull, a rising WNBA force and sharp advocate for equity in the sport. Together, they didn't just hand Clark a deal, they handed her a legacy. In a private event held in Los Angeles, Caitlin Clark walked into what she thought was a casual Nike brand meeting. Instead, she was met by Jordan himself, with Lexie Hull beside him, holding a sleek black box stamped with her initials. Inside, her first signature prototype. Cameras caught the moment she realized what was happening. Her hand flew to her face, eyes wide, disbelief turning into tears. And in that moment, the torch was officially passed. So what made Caitlin Clark break down in disbelief as legends passed her the torch? Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. The signature that changed everything. When Caitlin Clark unboxed her very first signature shoe, sleek, bold, and branded with her name, it wasn't just a milestone for her. It was a moment that echoed through decades of sports history. Not since 1984, when a young Michael Jordan signed a groundbreaking deal with Nike, had the world seen a partnership this symbolic. But this time, it wasn't just about performance, it was about power, potential, and the future of women's sports. The announcement came just days after her WNBA draft moment in Brooklyn. Nike's $52 million offer wasn't just record-breaking, it included something even rarer. A signature shoe line built entirely around Caitlin Clark's identity and style. That made her only the 3rd WNBA player in history to ever receive such an honor. But even more impressively, it made her the first to receive it this early in her professional career. At the core of it all, a bold bet. Nike wasn't just signing a player, they were investing in a movement. One that began with packed college arenas and shattered scoring records and had now evolved into a full-fledged business empire. It was a modern twist on the Jordan blueprint, but with some key differences. Back in 1984, when Nike took a chance on an explosive rookie named Michael Jordan, they offered more than a paycheck. Jordan's deal included royalties, a cut of every Air Jordan pair sold. That detail changed everything. It allowed him to grow not just as an athlete, but as a brand. Today, Air Jordan is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and MJ earns tens of millions annually from it. That original contract didn't just transform Nike, It transformed sports marketing forever. Caitlin Clark's deal, by comparison, is massive in scope, but not identical in structure. Sources close to the negotiations revealed that while she gets her own shoe, the contract does not include royalties on sales, at least not yet. That means Nike holds the revenue reins, even as Clark's name, image, and likeness fuel the brand. That detail didn't sit well with everyone. Sonny Vaccaro, the same former Nike executive who helped sign Michael Jordan in the 80s, publicly praised Caitlin for her meteoric rise, calling her one of the most important athletes of this generation. But he also didn't hold back on his disappointment. They should have given her the full Jordan treatment, he told reporters in late April 2024. If anyone deserves ownership in their legacy, it's her. But while the fine print stirred debate, the visual impact was undeniable. In late April, during a Nike event in Los Angeles, Caitlin stood on stage holding her signature shoe next to Michael Jordan himself and WNBA star Lexie Hull, both of whom had pushed internally to elevate Clark's platform. Cameras flashed, crowds roared, and in that moment it became clear this wasn't just a deal, it was a declaration. But how did Caitlin Clark's Nike deal turn into a bold declaration for women's sports? Keep watching to find out. What Caitlin Clark's Nike deal really means for women's sports. When Sonny Vaccaro, the man who helped build Michael Jordan into a global icon, spoke out in April 2024, his words didn't just echo through sneaker culture. They lit a fire under the entire sports industry. Vaccaro wasn't criticizing Caitlin Clark. He was praising her fiercely. She should have been given royalties or equity, something more than just the check, he said at a media roundtable in Los Angeles. She's not just selling shoes, she's shifting culture. And it's hard to argue with him. At just 22, Caitlin Clark had already outperformed most endorsement veterans. Her highlights flooded social media. Her name pulled ratings. Her jersey sales shattered records before she ever played a WNBA game. Yet while Nike's deal, worth up to $52 million, marked a monumental shift for women athletes, Vaccaro insisted it still fell short of the revolutionary model he helped pioneer with Jordan back in 1984. They made MJ a business partner. Why not her? That question hit a nerve across the industry. Because Caitlin Clark's Nike deal wasn't just a personal win, it became a cultural reckoning. For decades, women's sports had operated in the shadow of the men's leagues, even when talent, audience engagement, and merchandise sales clearly proved otherwise. Endorsement deals were smaller, media attention came more slowly, and the compensation gap was glaring. Clark's deal cracked that ceiling. And it wasn't just the number, it was the tone. Nike didn't quietly add her to a roster, they built around her. They gave her a signature shoe, something still rare for women in professional basketball, and presented it to her alongside two heavyweights, Michael Jordan and WNBA star Lexie Hull. That moment, captured in late April at Nike HQ in Beaverton, Oregon, wasn't just symbolic, it was seismic. But it also exposed uncomfortable truths. While Clark's endorsement earnings soared, her rookie WNBA salary remained at a mere $76,000, less than the cost of some front-row seats at NBA games. The staggering contrast reignited a national conversation. How could one of the most marketable athletes in the world earn more from one shoe deal than most WNBA players make in a decade? Fans, players, and advocates began speaking out. Social media buzzed with comparisons. Articles popped up overnight, questioning everything from league contracts to TV rights to outdated sponsorship models. Even former athletes joined the debate, saying Caitlin's deal should be a wake-up call, not just for brands, but for the system as a whole. Still, amid the debate, one truth stood firm. Caitlin Clark wasn't just endorsed, she was believed in. And while Jordan's model set the bar, Clark's journey might just raise it in a different way. She became the proof that a woman's name could sell shoes, move markets, and shift expectations on a global scale. And with Michael Jordan and Lexie Hull standing beside her, it was clear the message wasn't just being heard, it was being amplified. Then came Caitlin Clark, with Jordan and Lexie Hull backing her. Could this redefine sports forever? Stay tuned to find out. Caitlin Clark, Nike, and the future that just got unlocked. When Nike handed Caitlin Clark that 8-year, $52 million deal in April 2024, flanked by the legendary Michael Jordan and rising WNBA star Lexie Hull, they weren't just rewarding a superstar, they were rewriting the rules. Industry insiders and marketing veterans didn't need time to catch up. They knew immediately what this was: a game changer, not just for Clark, but for every girl dribbling a basketball right now, for every future college phenom, for the entire system of how women's sports are marketed, valued, and sold to the world. Caitlin's deal has quickly become the new benchmark, the standard against which all future endorsement offers for female athletes will be measured. And the reasons go far beyond her stats. It's her presence, her crossover appeal, her ability to light up a room, a screen, or a packed arena. She's not just a baller, she's a brand, a walking campaign with global pull. From downtown Des Moines to downtown Tokyo, her name means something, and corporations are finally treating that value accordingly. Nike didn't just see her as a short-term win, they saw her as a centerpiece. This deal isn't about riding a viral wave, it's a long-term play. 8 years of global marketing plans, Olympic campaigns, social causes, lifestyle branding, and possibly even executive collaborations. Caitlin Clark isn't just representing the swoosh, she's becoming part of its legacy. And with Michael Jordan, whose 1984 Nike deal turned into a global empire, standing next to her, the symbolism couldn't be more obvious. Jordan brought the model. Lexie Hull brought the movement. Caitlin? She brought the moment. But the buzz isn't just about what she got. It's about what this means for what's coming next. Experts believe Clark's deal will open floodgates for others. Companies that once hesitated to invest in women's sports are now scrambling to reassess their strategy. If Caitlin Clark can pull global numbers, move merchandise, and drive ratings higher than some NBA games, why not back more like her? Why not offer other female athletes what they truly deserve? Signature shoes, equity deals, long-term campaigns. Still, one part of the contract continues to raise eyebrows: the absence of royalties. While Clark will earn a historic paycheck, she won't receive a share of sales from her signature shoe, at least not for now. But analysts see this not as a setback, but as the next battleground. If this is the new baseline, then the next deals might just push further, toward equity, revenue sharing, and ownership. What Caitlin Clark represents now isn't just talent, it's possibility. And Nike's investment signals something bigger, a future where women athletes are no longer the exception in the business of sports, they're the foundation. And with Michael Jordan's legendary legacy behind her and Lexie Hull's powerful advocacy for women in sports right beside her, Caitlin Clark isn't just walking into history, she's helping shape the future of it. Every step she takes now echoes with decades of progress and the promise of something bigger. That future, long overdue, may not just be coming, it may already be unfolding before our eyes. Finally, what happens when Jordan's legacy meets Clark's rise and Hull's fight for change? Keep watching. How Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and Michael Jordan are rewriting the rules of the game. When Nike handed Caitlin Clark a record-setting $52 million deal in April 2024, surrounded by basketball royalty like Michael Jordan and rising WNBA star Lexie Hull, it wasn't just a business decision. It was a message. And perhaps the loudest part of that message came not in dollars, but in design. A signature shoe. Not a one-off collaboration. Not a limited edition drop. A shoe built from the ground up with Caitlin Clark's name on it. And that changes everything. Even in the world of men's basketball, signature shoes are a rare honor. They mark more than talent. They mark influence. For women, They're almost unheard of. In fact, when Clark's shoe launches, Nike confirmed its inactive development. It will be the first women's basketball signature sneaker in several years. Only a handful have ever existed. That's how big this is. The shoe isn't just about style or sportswear. It's a cultural shift wrapped in laces and logos. For decades, young boys have grown up idolizing legends through their shoes. Air Jordans, Kobe's, LeBron's. Their dreams had souls. But what about girls? That's the power of what Caitlin Clark is creating. In gyms across the country, young girls now have someone who looks like them, plays like them, and leads like them at the highest level. And soon, they'll be able to lace up shoes designed for them by someone who understands their game. That's not just marketing, that's impact. And Michael Jordan knows exactly what that means. Back in 1984, Jordan's first deal with Nike changed the way the world viewed athletes. It wasn't just about performance, it was about ownership, royalties, legacy. Jordan's airline became a billion-dollar business and the foundation for athlete empowerment in sports marketing. That deal was historic, and now Caitlin Clark is building something just as meaningful on top of that foundation. Though her contract doesn't include the royalty clause that made Jordan a business mogul, it mirrors his model in one crucial way: belief. Nike's long-term commitment, an 8-year deal with a signature shoe and high-profile campaigns, shows they're not just betting on her now. They're building a brand around her, and she's not doing it alone. Lexie Hull, another face of the WNBA's future and a relentless advocate for women in sports, stood shoulder to shoulder with Clark and Jordan during the reveal. Her presence wasn't just ceremonial, it was powerful. A reminder that this movement is bigger than one name, one shoe, or one brand. This is a turning point. Girls who once had to settle for wearing the men's game on their feet will soon walk in shoes made for their game. And not just any shoes, but shoes tied to a player whose rise was built on hard work, heart, and history-making performance. From Iowa City's roaring arenas to Nike's global stage, Caitlin Clark didn't ask for a moment. She earned one. Her signature shoe isn't just footwear, it's a signal, a sign that girls belong here, not next, not someday, but now. And with Michael Jordan's legacy behind her and Lexie Hull beside her, Caitlin Clark is stepping into a future that's never looked more promising or more powerful. So, what do you think happens when Caitlin Clark, Michael Jordan, and Lexie Hull team up to launch a game-changing sneaker? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.